Okay, here we go. I'm really excited to finally get a chance to try out World War III. And what do we do here? Wait. Is this how it's supposed to load up? Wait a second. Did my loading just get stuck at 98%? Seriously. WTF. On my second gameplay ever. What's going on, everybody? It's LtBuzzLitebeer, and a few months back I was invited to experience the universe of World War III during their Veterans Alpha test, which was a kind of rough version of the more streamlined game you now get to experience. But before we dive into this video, if you like what you see, please smash that sub button. And if you really like what you see, maybe you would consider also hitting the notifications bell to receive all future uploads from my channel. Alright, let's go. So right out of the gate, you may be watching this video and asking yourself, you know what, Buzz, what is this game? Because I've never heard of it. So let's drop a little World War III history on you, and that's going to involve me reading directly off of the Steam game description. World War III is a tactical online multiplayer FPS where the world is your battleground. Outgun the enemy in thrilling team-based skirmishes with a huge arsenal of weapons, vehicles, gadgets, and drones at your disposal. I think I first ran into a little PR splash for this title sometime way back in 2017. I may be wrong here with the year, but the playable version landed in fall 2018 and it was met with mixed reviews. Now, I got my first taste of this game during the Veterans Alpha test, where the studio invited all the people who had bought into the game previously and gave them their own test environment, and overall I thought the game had good bones and potential, but you know what, it needed a lot of polish in certain aspects. Fast forward to the present day, and now that the game has gone through significant upgrades and improvements, namely to the visuals and animations, I again got to experience World War III, now in its closed beta test. And here's where I'm going to start to give you my impressions gained through 20 plus hours of game time. Now, anytime I dive into an FPS, my first and very basic and or raw impressions are going to be based on the gunplay. Because of the obvious reasoning, if you're going to play a first-person shooter and the gunplay is just garbage, then you might as well just move on. And World War III does enough in this department to keep me interested. I don't want to characterize it as a Tarkov, Battlefield, or COD spinoff, but the gunplay is mostly realistic with pronounced recoil and realistic reload times and mechanics. Now, overall, time to kill is fast. Somewhere in the 3 to 4 shots landed range, even faster if you can land a headshot or two, and if you get caught from behind or the other player pre-fires you and lands a few rounds, expect to get your ass handed to you. Just popping off full auto will instantly lead to heavy bloom, so pop firing at range is expected, and understanding the distance limits of the weapon you are holding is also especially important. Now, while you can run around with an SMG and even land shots at range, don't expect to do much damage. And for anyone that has played a realistic FPS battle sim, you know exactly what I am saying. Also, hit registration can be a bit spotty. I've dumped an entire mag into a target that is completely unaware to my presence and knocked down them, only to be turned on and ripped to pieces in the blink of an eye. So, like pretty much any other FPS on the market, your ability to win shootouts will in part be due to your internet connection and ping. And finally, an observation from a player perspective is that this game just heaps so much crap onto your screens in terms of HUD and incoming data. You will see from the footage as the video plays that it really breaks the player immersion. And if anything, if it could be simplified down to what is just essential, it would actually improve the gameplay and showcase the beautiful and violent battlefields. Character movements and animations are something that the game has tried to give players a bit of variety with. You've got sprint and tactical sprint. You can crouch and go prone, slide after sprinting, and even get a 180-degree view while prone by double tapping directionals to either lay on your back or on your belly. Now, just something that I noticed is that by beginning one animation and then performing another movement, it will then cancel out the first. So, say for instance, if you were beginning a reload and then you start taking incoming fire and try to grab a quick prone, it will cancel out the reload and you're going to need to begin again. World War III also deals out a heavy dose of lean mechanics, and I'm not a big fan of this being in an FPS. I know it adds realism to the experience, but coming from the old Battlefield 3 and 4 days, this is just something I never adjusted to. Expect to be constantly checking the smallest slivers of cover for enemy players corner peeking, and this can happen from any altitude as well. It tends to slow down the pace of combat when you are constantly searching every single crevice for enemy players, and this becomes especially prevalent when you travel indoors, as there are multiple floors, balconies, and stairwells, all with the ability to give players the smallest of angles to peek and drop you while still staying in full cover. Now, this paired with the fact that friendly fire is always active means you have to take your time and lean peek every single hard edge in the entire game. Sure, you can just run wild, but expect to be laser beamed down by enemies, armor, or by your own teammates that have a shoot first, ask questions later mentality. Overall, character animations are decent, but you will notice that certain aspects, like for instance grenade tosses, are extremely unnatural and stiff. Now, another area is interacting with your kits. For me, I'm always rolling with a medical kit, and even when you throw it on the ground, it could take you a few attempts to finally lock onto it and begin your healing. And finally, there seems to be a movement hierarchy mechanic in place, and that it prioritizes completing certain movements before allowing you to attempt another. I've run into the corner of a room, I go prone, and then I attempt a reload, but the game sees it as, okay, this player has run into the corner of the room and goes prone. Now his body is partially sticking out of an asset, so I need to scoot his body forwards away from the wall, and this will, of course, cancel that reload I activated. Learning the maps, the cover types, and what animations can be performed in the proximity of those differing cover types will be a part of your World War III education. Right now, the game consists of just two different game modes. You've got Tactical Ops, which is a 20v20 domination style mode. Each map has 3 different capture points that are broken into 2 different areas that you need to take, establishing a link between the two, and then you can start accumulating points. Now, Tac Ops rounds are really long, maxing out at 30 minutes. And FYI, I played hour-plus Battlefield rounds, and the time just flew by due to the intensity of the combat. But with World War III and set at 30 minutes, you really start to feel just how long these Tac Ops rounds take to complete, and more on this in a second. Now, the second mode is your classic Team Deathmatch, which is 10v10 on smaller portions of the larger Tac Ops maps. TDM matches are just 7 minutes in length, or once one team gets to 50 kills, but the real World War III experience is going to be found in Tac Ops. So back to round timers and how it really starts to drag on, and in my opinion, this is all down to lack of combat pacing. You spend the majority of your time running between capture points, lean checking every single corner to avoid being mowed down by a camper on the upper level of a building with perfect position for an ambush. And once you're at the capture point, the capture timers themselves seem to take forever, and you're constantly peeking from behind cover to check if an enemy is rolling into your zone. This is in stark contrast to the actual combat, because when you get into a full-fledged firefight, this game really pops and it comes alive. You've got RPGs and grenades flying all over the place, C4 being dropped in over cover, tracer fire going this way and that way, and in my opinion, this is the real strength for this game. There are times when it is really crazy with enemy armor thrown in and you've got pretty much your entire side versus the entire enemy team, and it all sort of just hits the fan. And once it's all over, you're like, damn, that was incredible. And then it settles back into that slower slog to the next capture point, checking every corner, trying not to get rushed from behind. So pacing is an area that the devs need to evaluate. I don't know if there is a limitation with the servers or this is how they intended the game to be played, but 2 things I think could help out the game would be to increase the player counts and to decrease the timers for capturing control points. If they can find a way to greatly decrease the times between those incredible gunfight moments, it would really help out the identity of the game and attract more gamers craving those kind of intense experiences. One area that World War III absolutely nails the formula is in customization, and this game crushes it in the amount of items that you can custom configure, and in my opinion is class leading for the FPS market and pretty much on par with what you would see, say, in Tarkov. It's really that good. There is so much here to unlock and equip on your characters that you could play for like ever and still have more to go. I could actually spend an entire video just rolling through the amount of customization options, but just to summarize it a bit, you can choose between 8 assault rifles, 2 battle rifles, 4 LMGs, 3 sniper rifles, 2 shotguns, 4 sidearms, 2 rocket launchers, and 3 SMGs, and I can easily see more coming in future content. Just as an example, there's actually 20 different sights to unlock and equip just on an SMG, each with different positive and negative attributes, like better ADS times, but increased sway type mechanics. You've got different barrels, muzzles, side-mounted accessories like tactical lasers and flashlights, secondary ammo for increased damage versus certain types of armor, and then, once you've got all that sorted out, you can unlock and change the actual visual appearance of the grip, the handguard, rails, receivers, and even the stock. This is gun porn done on the very highest level, and all of it has positive and negative effects on your character and weapon handling. Believe it or not, you've also got all these same abilities with your secondary weapon, your different armor platings you can choose from, helmet materials, primary gadgets, secondary gadgets, and even a backpack feature where you can tote around even more items that you can swap onto your weapon during a break in the combat, or maybe you just want to grab like a secondary grenade type. And all of this is supported by a progression system that doesn't punish you or feel overly grindy. Up to this point, I've been critical but complimentary of World War III, as I've mostly enjoyed my time with this title. But one area where this game is bad, actually full stop, let me amend that. One area where World War III is the worst FPS I have ever experienced, and I wanted to again emphasize, worst ever, is in sound design. Now, I don't often curse, but this game has the fucking worst sound I have ever had to endure in an FPS. And it is so fucked up on every level. In fact, the sound design is so over the top bad, I really don't know how to accurately describe it to you. I am sure to leave off some of the gripes I have with the sound from this breakdown, but you know what? Here goes. When you get around a group of team members and you all start to sprint, it sounds like a herd of a million spooked water buffalo running for their lives. It is just so overpowering in sound levels that it drowns out every other sound you could potentially hear. Squad mate boots sound identical to those of an enemy player, so you have no idea if you are hearing friend or foe. Random sounds from across the entire map just come blasting through your eardrums, spiking the dB levels up to the maximum the game will allow. I've heard tanks that sound like they are rolling up on my area, and as I chase the sound to the source, there's no tank, just a tank sound that is loud as hell. Enemy footsteps and gunfire are wildly inconsistent. One minute you can hear with a bit of accuracy where they're coming from, and then the very next minute you don't even hear the incoming gunfire. You just start taking damage, and you have no idea where you're being shot from. I've had enemy armor literally come up from behind me and basically park their tank on my ass, probably laughing the entire time, not because I wasn't paying attention, but because the game decided to nix the overwhelmingly loud tank diesel motor sound from what I was privileged enough to hear. And wait, these were just the appetizers, because now we're on to the main course. There are times when a grenade or other explosion will go off in your general area and the game just decides, hey, you know what? I'm going to deactivate all your sound. It will literally go on like 99% mute and never return. You will hear the smallest of muffled gunfire, no footsteps, just nothing. And then out of nowhere, it will hit you with one of those deafening tank round blast sound effects that will make your ears bleed. The only way you can reset your sound is to drop completely out of the game and then relog back in. Just watch this clip as an example as I try to capture this point and an enemy player shows up. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell from your sound on your side, but I am hearing sound from everywhere. Up, down, left, right. I mean, I have no idea where he is coming from until I guess up the stairwell, and guess what? He comes from below the stairwell. And this is going to bring me to the final question that I know you're probably asking yourselves right now. Is this a game I need to be taking a look at? Well, in my opinion, it could be. Kind of a vague answer, but let me explain. The customization and progression systems are at the very top of what you're going to be able to find in the FPS market. The gunplay is solid enough, not overwhelming, but it does mix up a bit of realism with arcade into a workable formula. Right now, there are only 4 maps available to play on TAC Ops, but I can see this being expanded in the future, and that area of content is where the game is really lacking at the moment. Now, 2 areas I did not touch on are the inclusion of armor in the game and kill streaks. Armor is extremely strong, and in my opinion, it is a bit overpowered for these lower player counts. Even with several dedicated tank killer squad members all equipped with RPGs, even an average tank driver can shrug it off and wreck entire portions of the battlefield. The other area, and the one I do not like seeing in this game, is kill streaks. I get where the devs are trying to go with this, but in a mostly realistic FPS battle sim, seeing these things just popping off left and right really pulls back on the overall gaming experience. There's everything in this game, from basic UAVs to remote-controlled JDAM missile strikes, full-on player-controlled helicopters, to having a freaking tank airdropped in for you to just hop in and wreck the enemy side. Once again, not my favorite thing to see, but it's a developer's decision, and they decided to go with it. Now, recently, World War III is really hammering the Twitch airwaves with a full drop campaign, so there is more and more attention being drawn to this title. Now, if the team at Studio 51 can completely gut and redesign the horrific in-game sound mechanics to actually function properly, and if they can come up with some sort of a content roadmap, as in what can players expect in the future for maps and modes, it could do a world of good for World War III. If you want in on the closed beta early access, I believe it is $15 USD on the Steam store, or you can wait for it to go free to play in March 2022. As always, I look forward to reading your feedback and questions in the comment section below. In case you aren't yet a sub, please smash that sub button and ring the bell to receive all future upload notifications from my channel. If you could be so kind as to rate and or share this video, it is greatly appreciated. You can find and follow me on Twitch, as I am fully partnered, and over on Twitter, posting my thoughts on most things gaming related. I also have a Discord community server that welcomes anyone looking for a positive gaming environment. Links to all of these platforms in the video description below. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.